All right, this is chapter 3, section number 2. This is the fourth part. This is titled The Incas. High up in the Andes, where the air is very thin, the climate harsh, and the soil is very rocky, live a group of people who are descendants from the Inca who carved out a mountain empire 5 centuries ago until it was overthrown by the Spanish. You might think of the Andes Mountains like a huge curtain of rock stretching from 4,500 miles along the entire length of the western coast of South America, from Colombia all the way to Chile, making the Andes chain the world's longest. Not only is the Andes range the longest, it has 30 of the highest mountains on Earth. The only mountains higher are Mount Everest and K2 in the Himalayan range of Asia. This was where the Incas chose to build their mighty empire, stretching for 2,500 miles through some of the most rugged terrain in the world. But thanks to a strong emperor and pretty sophisticated road network, the Inca Empire brought together a population of 10 million people from 100 different ethnic groups speaking 20 different languages. The Inca civilization was every bit as sophisticated as the Aztecs, the Romans, or even the Chinese. They believed in many gods and built pyramid temples to these gods like the Mayans and Aztecs did. Their emperors was the living form of the sun god on earth. Like their northern neighbors, the Inca performed engineering marvels equal to the Egyptians, the Romans, and the Sumerians. But unlike the Maya and Aztecs, who had a form of hieroglyphic writing, the Incas kept records by creating knots on strings called quipu. The quipu were mainly used for keeping track of dates or business transactions rather than actual communication. All stories were passed down orally. How could anyone support an empire of 10 million people in this dry, mountainous environment? The answer is through an ingenious system of engineering that rivaled that of the ancient Romans. The Inca were builders and carved flat farming terraces out of the mountains. These terraces grew crops like corn, peppers, beans, and potatoes, all of which were brought to Europe by the Spanish. To water their crops, they used a system of irrigation that used gravity to bring water from mountain streams to the terraced fields. Rainwater was also collected in huge cisterns in times of drought. With so many mouths to feed, an empire must have a sophisticated system of agriculture. But much of the Andes has poor rocky soil, and rain here can be a hit or miss deal. This made farming very difficult, but not impossible. The Incas were farmers who grew potatoes, beans, squash, and corn on terrace fields carved out of the mountainside. These fields were irrigated through tunnels, canals, and pipes that brought water from the lakes and streams some hundreds of miles away. Even more impressive than the size of the empire is how they kept it all running. The Inca connected their cities through thousands of miles of paved roads, bridges, and tunnels. The closest thing that the Inca had to domesticated animal was the llama. But these animals weren't used as farm animals or for riding like European cows and horses, but were raised for its wool, which Inca women moved into which Inca women wove into colorful blankets and clothing. Now, what this says in 1598, Queen Elizabeth ordered a banquet featuring a food source from the New World, potatoes. The royal cooks, having never prepared potatoes before, threw the veggies away and cooked the green part or the eye instead, sickening the whole royal court. Queen Elizabeth banned the vegetable for 100 years. The ban was eventually lifted a few years after the ban, when potatoes gained popularity in Spain, France, and Italy. This just goes to show that we brought all of this stuff back to the New World, but we really didn't know exactly how to use it. Today, potatoes are one of the staples, not just in the United States, but around the world.